Ko Yun by a ruse captures Quyang. Chu Yu's anger at seeing that his rival, K. Ming, had surprised Nanchun, and at hearing the same news of Qingchu and H. Xiangyang, was but natural, and this sudden fit of rage caused his wound to reopen. However, he soon recovered. All his officers besought him to accept the situation, but he said, "What but the death of that bumpkin, Chuko, will assuage my anger? If Changpu can but aid me in an attack on Nanchun, I can certainly restore it to my country." Soon Lu Su came in, to whom Chu Yu said, "I simply must fight Liu Pei and Chuko Liang till it is decided which shall have the upper hand. I must also recapture the city. Perhaps you can assist me." "It cannot be done," replied Lu Su. "We are now at grips with TSO, and victory or defeat is undecided. Our Lord has not been successful in overcoming Hopai. Do not fight near home, or it will be like people of the same household destroying each other, and should TSO take advantage of this position to make a sudden descent, we should be in a parlous condition. Further, you must remember that Liu Pei and TSO are united by the bonds of old friendship, and if the pressure becomes too great, Liu Pei may relinquish these cities, offer them to TSO, and join forces with him to attack our country. That would be a real misfortune." "I cannot help being angry," said Chu Yu, "to think that we should have used our resources for their benefit. They get all the advantage. Well, let me go and see Yuan Ter and talk reason to him. If I can arrive at no understanding, then attack at once." "Excellent proposal," cried all present. So Lu Su, with his escort, went away to Nanchun to carry out his proposal and try to arrange matters. He reached the city wall and summoned the gate, whereat Ko Yun came out to speak with him. "I have something to say to Liu Yuan Ter," said he. "I wish to see him." "My lord and Chuko Liang are in Qingchu," was the reply. Lu Su turned away and hasted to Qingchu. He found the walls bedecked with flags and everything in excellent order. In his heart he admired the sight, and thought what an able man was the commander of that army. The guards reported his arrival, and K. Ming ordered them to throw wide the gate. He was led to the government house, and after the usual exchange of salutes, K. Ming and his visitor took their respective seats. Having finished the tea, Lu Su said, "My master, the Marquis Wu, and the commander of his army, Chu Yu, have sent me to lay before the imperial uncle their views." When TSO led his huge host southward, he gave out that it was for the conquest of Chiangnan. Really his intention was to destroy Liu Pei. Happily our army was able to repulse that mighty host and so saved him. Wherefore Qingchu with its 9 districts ought to belong to us. But by a treacherous move your master has occupied Qingchu and H. Xiangyang, so that we have spent our treasure in vain, and our armies have fought to no purpose. The imperial uncle has reaped the benefits to the full. This is not as it should be." K. Ming replied, "Tizuqing, you are a man of high intelligence. Why do you hold such language? You know the saying that all things turn to their owner. These places have never belonged to Wu but were of the patrimony of Liu Pio, and though he is dead, his son remains. Should not the uncle assist the nephew to recover his own? Could my master have refrained? If the nephew Liu Cie, the rightful heir, had occupied these cities there would have been something to say. But he is at Chiangxia and not here." "Would you like to see him?" said K. Ming. At the same time he ordered the servants to request Liu Cie to come. Thereupon he at once appeared, supported by 2 attendants. Addressing Lu Su he said, "I am too weak to perform the correct ceremonies. I pray you pardon me, Tizuqing." Lu Su said not a word. He was too much taken aback. However, he recovered himself presently and said, "But if the heir had not been here, what then? The heir is living but from day to day. Should he go, then there will be something to talk about. Should he die, then you ought to return these cities to us." "You state the exact facts," said Young-ming. Then a banquet was prepared, and that over, Lu Su took his leave. He hastened back to his own camp and gave Chu Yu an account of his mission. "But what is there for us in the chance of Liu Che's death?" said Chu Yu. "He is in his very first youth. When will these places fall to us?" "Rest content, General. Let me guarantee the return of these places." "But how can you?" asked Chu Yu. "Liu Che has indulged too freely in wine and women. He is a wreck and rotten to the core, miserably emaciated and panting for breath. I will not give him half a year's life. Then I will go to Liu Pei and he will be unable to deny the request." But Chu Yu was still unmollified. Suddenly came a messenger from Sun Chuan who said, "Our Lord is laying siege to Hofei, but in several battles has had no victory. He now orders you to withdraw from here and go to Hofei to help him." Thereupon Chu Yu marched back to Chaseng. Having reached home, he began to give attention to the recovery of his health. He sent Pu with the marine and land forces to Hofei ready for Sun Chuan's call. Liu Pei was exceedingly well satisfied with the possession of his new territory, and his thoughts turned to more ambitious schemes. Then a certain man came to him to suggest a plan. This man was Kai, and remembering the kindly feeling of other days, Yuan Ter received him most graciously. When he was seated and his host had asked what he proposed, he said, "You wish for a plan to accomplish yet greater deeds. Why not seek wise men and ask them?" "Where are these wise men to be found?" asked Yuan Ter. Kai replied, "In this district there is a certain family named Ma, 5 brothers, all of whom are known as men of ability. The youngest is called Ma Su, or Ma Uch. The ablest is Ma Liang, or Kai Chang, who has white hairs in his eyebrows, and the villagers have a little rhyming couplet that means there are 5 sons in the family Ma, but white eyebrows is the best of them. You should get this man to draw up a plan for you." So Yuan Ter told them to request his presence. Ma Liang came and was received with great respect. He was asked to suggest a plan for the security of the newly acquired district, and he said, "Attacked as it is on all sides, this district is not one in which one is permanently secure. You should let Liu Che remain here till he is recovered from his present illness, the actual protection of the place being left in the hands of trusty friends. Obtain an edict appointing him governor, and the people will be content. Then conquer Wuling, Changsha, Quyang and Linling, and with the resources you will thus acquire you will have the means for further plans. That should be your policy." "Which of the 4 districts should be first taken?" asked Liu Pei. "The nearest, Linling, which lies in the west of Xiang Hunan. The next is Wuling, and after these the other 2. Ma Liang was given an appointment as secretary, with Kai as his second. Then Yuan Ter consulted Ming about sending Liu Che to Xianyang, so that Yun Chang could be free to return. Next they made preparations to attack Linling, and Chang Fei was to lead the van. Ko Yun was to guard the rear, while Yuan Ter and Ming were to command the main body. A legion and a half were left to hold Qingchu. Mai Chu and Liu Feng were left to guard Chiangling. The prefect of Linling was Liu Tu. When danger thus threatened he called in his son Liu Xin and they discussed the case. The son was very self-confident and said to his father, "Have no anxiety. They may have the known and famous warriors, Chang Fei and Ko Yun, but we have our leader, Xing Taoyang, who is match for any number of men. He can withstand them." So Liu Xin, with the famous leader, was entrusted with the defense. At the head of a full legion, they made a camp about 30 li from the city, with the shelter of hills and a river. Their scouts brought news that Ming was close at hand with one army. Xing Taoyang decided to check his advance and went forth to oppose him. When both sides were arrayed, Sing rode to the front. In his hand he held a battle-axe called Cleaver of Mountains. In a mighty voice he cried, "Rebels, how comes it that you have dared to enter our territory?" From the center of the opposing army, where appeared a cluster of yellow flags, there came out a small four-wheeled carriage in which sat, very erect, a certain man dressed in white, with a turban on his head. In one hand he held a feather fan, with which he signed to the warrior to approach. At the same time he said, "I am Chuko of Nanyang, whose plans broke up the countless legions of Tsao so that nothing of them returned whence they started. How then can you hope to oppose me? I now offer you peace, and it will be well for you to surrender." Sing laughed derisively. "Their defeat was owing to the plan of Chu Yu. You had nothing to do with it. How dare you try to deceive me?" So saying, he swung up his battle-axe and came running toward Ming. But he turned his carriage and retired within the lines which closed up behind him. Sing still came rushing on. As he reached the array, the men fell away on both sides and let him enter. Well within, he looked round for his chief opponent. Seeing a yellow flag moving along quietly, he concluded that Ming was with it and so followed it. When the flag had gone over the shoulder of a hill, it stopped. Then suddenly, as if the earth had opened and swallowed it up, the four-wheeled carriage disappeared, while in its place came a ferocious warrior, with a long spear in his hand and mounted on a curveting steed. It was Chang Fei, who dashed at Sing with a tremendous roar. Nothing daunted, Sing Taoyong whirled up his battle-axe and went to meet Chang Fei. But after 4 or 5 bouts he saw that there was no chance of victory for him, so he turned his horse and ran. Chang Fei pursued, the air shaking with the thunder of his voice. Then the ambushed men appeared. Taoyong, nothing daunted, rushed into their midst, but in front appeared another warrior barring the way, who called out, "Do you know me? I am Ko Tzu Lung of Changshan." Sing Taoyong knew that all was over. He could neither fight nor fly. So he dismounted and gave in. He was fettered and taken to camp, where were Yuan Ter and Ming. The former ordered him out to execution, but Ming hastily checked him. "We will accept your submission if you capture Liu Xin for us," said he. The captive accepted the offer without the least hesitation, and when Ming asked how he intended to do it, he replied, "If you will set me free, I shall be cunning of speech. If you raid the camp this evening, you will find me your helper on the inside. I will make Liu Xin a prisoner and will hand him over to you. He being captured, his father will surrender at once." Yuan Ter doubted the good faith of the man, but Ming said he knew he could answer for him. Wherefore he was set free and went back to camp, where he related all that had occurred. "What can we do?" asked Liu Xin. "We can meet trick with trick. Put soldiers in ambush tonight outside our camp, while within everything will appear as usual. When Ming comes, we shall capture him." The ambush was prepared. At the second watch, a troop came out of the darkness and appeared in the gate. Each man carried a torch, and they began to set fire to all about them. Out dashed Liu Xin and Sing Taoyong, and the incendiaries forthwith fled. The 2 warriors pursued them, but the fugitives ran and then suddenly disappeared at about 10 li from the camp. Much surprised, the 2 turned to wend their way back to their own camp. It was still burning, for no one had extinguished the flames. Soon from behind them came out Chang Fei. Liu Xin called out to his companion not to enter the burning camp, but to go with him to attack Ming's stockade. Thereupon they turned again, but at a distance of 10 Li Ko Yun and a troop suddenly debouched upon their road. Ko Yun attacked, and H. Sing Tao Yong fell. Liu H. Xin turned to flee, but Chang Fei was close upon him and made him prisoner. He was thrown across a horse, bound and taken to camp. When he saw Keungming, he laid blame on his fallen comrade, saying he had listened to his evil counsel, and this deed was not his own wish. Keungming ordered them to loose his bonds, had him properly dressed and gave him wine to cheer him and help him forget his troubles. When he was recovered, he was told to go to his father and persuade him to yield. And if he does not, the city shall be destroyed and everyone put to death, said Keungming as he left. The son returned to the city and told his father these things. Liu too at once decided to yield and forthwith hoisted the flag of surrender, opened the gates, and went out taking his seal of office with him. He was reappointed to his prefectship, but his son was sent to Qingqiu for service with the army. The people of Linling all rejoiced greatly at the change of rulers. Yuan Ter entered the city, calmed and reassured the people and rewarded his army. But he at once began to think of the next move and asked for an officer to volunteer to take Quyang. Ko Yun offered, but Chang Fei vehemently proposed himself for the command of the expedition. So they wrangled and contended. Then said Keungming, "Undoubtedly Ko Yun was first to volunteer, wherefore he is to go." Still Chang Fei opposed and insisted on going. They were told to decide the dispute by drawing lots, and Ko Yun drew the winning lot. Chang Fei was still very angry and grumbled, "I would not have wanted any helpers, just 3 companies and I would have done it." "I also only want 3 companies, said Ko Yun, "and if I fail I am willing to suffer the penalties." Keungming was pleased that he recognized his responsibility so fully, and with the commission gave him 3 companies of veterans. Though the matter was thus settled, Chang Fei was discontented, and pressed his claim till Yuan Ter bade him desist and retire. With his 3 companies, Ko Yun took the road to Quyang. The prefect Ko Fan soon heard of his approach and hastily called his officers to take counsel. 2 of them, Ch. Sharon Ying and Pao Lung, offered to meet the invaders and turn them back. These 2 warriors belonged to Quyang and had made themselves famous as hunters. Ch. Sharon used a flying fork, and Pao could draw a bow with such force that he had been known to send an arrow through 2 tigers. So strong were they, as well as bold. They stood before Ko Fan and said, "We will lead the way against Liu Pei." The prefect replied, "I know that Liu Pei is of the imperial family. Keungming is exceedingly resourceful. Quan Yu and Chang Fei are very bold. But the commander of this force is Ko Tzu Lung, who, on one occasion, faced 100 legions and never blenched. Our small force here cannot stand against such people. We shall have to yield." "Let me go out to fight," said Ch. Ying. "If I cannot capture Ko Yun, then you can yield." The prefect could not resist him and gave his consent. Then Ch. Ying, with 3 companies, went forth, and soon the 2 armies came within sight of each other. When Ch. Ying's army was drawn up, he girded on his flying fork and rode to the front. Ko Yun gripped his spear and rode to meet him. Ko Yun began to rail at Ch. Ying, saying, "My master is the brother of Liu Pio, to whom belonged this land. Now he is supporting his nephew, the heir and son of Liu Pio. Having taken Qingqiu, I am come to soothe and comfort the people here. Why then do you oppose me? We are supporters of the minister T.S. Cao and are no followers of your master," was the reply. Ko Yun, waxing angry, firmly grasped his spear and rode forward. His opponent twirled flying fork and advanced. The horses met, but after 4 or 5 encounters, Ch. Ying, realizing that there was no hope of victory, turned and fled. Ko Yun followed. Suddenly turning, Chern Ying got close to Ko Yoon and flung the fork. Ko Yoon deftly caught it and threw it back. Chern Ying dodged away, but Ko Yoon soon caught him up, seized Chern Ying, dragged him out of the saddle and threw him to the ground. Then he called up his soldiers and they bound the prisoner. He was taken to the camp, while his men scattered and fled. "I thought you would not dare a combat with me," said Ko Yoon to the prisoner when they had returned to camp. "However, I am not going to put you to death. You are free, but persuade your master to yield." Chern Ying asked pardon, put his hands over his head and fled like a frightened rat. When he reached his city, he told the prefect all these things. "My original desire was to yield, but you insisted on fighting, and this is what it has brought you to." So spoke the prefect. He bade Chern begone and then prepared his letter of submission and put up his seal. With a small party, he went out of the city and wended his way to Ko Yoon's camp. Ko received him graciously, offered him wine, and then accepted the seal of office. After the wine had gone round several times, Ko Fan became talkative. "General, your surname is the same as mine, and 5 centuries ago we were one family. You are from Chanting and so am I. Moreover, we are from the same village. If you do not mind, we might swear brotherhood. I should be very happy." Ko Yoon was pleased and they compared ages. They were of the same year. However, Ko Yoon was the elder by 4 months, and so Ko Fan made his beau as younger brother. The two men, having so many things in common, were very pleased with each other and seemed fitted to be close friends. At eventide the feast broke up and the late prefect returned to his dwelling. Next day he requested Ko Yoon to enter the city, where, after he had assured the people of their safety, Ko Yoon went to a banquet at the Yammern. When they had become mellow with wine, the prefect invited Ko Yoon into the inner quarters, where wine was again served. When Ko Yoon was a little intoxicated, his host bade a woman come forth and offer a cup of wine to the guest. The woman was dressed entirely in white silk, and her beauty was such as to overthrow cities and ruin states. "Who is she?" asked Ko Yoon. "My sister-in-law. Her maiden name was Fan." Ko Yoon at once changed his look and treated her with deference. When she had offered the cup, the host told her to be seated and join the party, but Ko Yoon declined this addition to the evening, and the lady withdrew. "Why did you trouble your sister-in-law to present wine to me, brother?" asked Ko Yoon. "There is a reason," said the host smiling. "I pray you let me tell you. My brother died 3 years ago and left her a widow, but this cannot be regarded as the end of the story. I have often advised her to marry again, but she said she would only do so if 3 conditions were satisfied in one man's person. The suitor must be famous for literary grace and warlike exploits. Secondly, handsome and highly esteemed, and thirdly, of the same name as our own. Now where in all the world was such a combination likely to be found? Yet here are you, brother, dignified, handsome, and prepossessing, a man whose name is known all over the wide world and of the desired name. You exactly fulfill my sister's ambitions. If you do not find her too ugly, I should like her to marry you and I will provide a dowry. What think you of such an alliance, such a bond of relationship?" But Ko Yoon rose in anger, shouting, "As I have just sworn brotherhood with you, is not your sister-in-law my sister-in-law? How could you think of bringing such confusion into the relationship?" Shame suffused Ko Fan's face, and he said, "I only thought of being kind to you. Why are you so very rude to me?" He looked right and left to his attendants with murder in his eye. Ko Yoon raised his fist and knocked him down. Then he strode out of the place, mounted and rode out of the city. Ko Fan at once called in his 2 fighting men. Chern Ying said, "He has gone away in a rage, which means that we shall have to fight him." "I greatly fear you will lose," said Ko Fan. "We will pretend to be deserters," said Pao Lung, and so get among his men. When you challenge him, we will suddenly catch him. We shall have to take some others with us, said Chern. Half a company will be ample, said Pao. So in the night the two men and their followers ran over to Ko Yun's camp to desert. Ko Yun understood the trick they would play, but he called them in and they said, "When Ko Fan tempted you with that fair lady, he wanted to make you drunk and get you into the private apartments so that he might murder you and send your head to Tsao. Yes, he was as wicked as that even. We saw you go away in anger, and we thought that would mean grave trouble for us, and so we have deserted." Ko Yun listened with simulated joy, and he had wine served to the two men, and pressed them to drink so that they were quite overcome. When this was done, he had both bound with cords, called up their followers, and asked them whether this was real or pretended desertion, and they told him the truth. Then he gave the soldiers wine and said, "Those who wanted to harm me are your leaders and not you. If you do as I tell you, you shall be well rewarded." The soldiers threw themselves to the ground and promised obedience. Thereupon the two leaders were beheaded. The half company were made to lead the way and act as screen for a whole company of horsemen, and the party set out at full speed for Quyang. When they got there, they summoned the gate and said that they had slain Ko Yun and had got back, and they wished to speak with the prefect. Those on the wall lighted flares and inspected those at the gate. Surely enough, they wore the uniforms of their own people, and Ko Fan went out to them. He was immediately seized and made prisoner. Then Ko Yun entered the city, restored order, and sent off swift messengers to Yuan Ter, who at once, with his advisor, came to Quyang. When they had taken their seats, the late prefect was brought in and placed at the foot of the steps. In response to K. Youngming's questions, he related the history of the proposed marriage. Said K. Youngming to Ko Yun, "But this seems a fine project. Why did you receive the proposal so roughly? Ko Fan and I had just sworn brotherhood, and so marriage with his sister-in-law would have called down on my head universal blame. That is one reason. Another is that I should have made his sister fail to keep her dutiful chastity. And thirdly, I did not know whether I might trust such a proposal from one who had just yielded to force. My lord, your position as a recent victor was one of danger, and could I risk the failure of your plans for the sake of a woman? But now that the plan has been carried out, and we are victors, would you care to marry her? There are plenty of women in the world. All my fear is for my reputation. What is a family to me?" "You are indeed right honorable," said Yuan Ter. Ko Fan was released and restored to the prefectorate. Ko Yun was conspicuously rewarded. But Chang Fei was angry and disappointed. "So Tizulung gets all the praise and I am worth nothing," cried he. "Just give me 3 companies and I will take Wuling and bring you the prefect." This pleased K. Youngming, who said, "There is no reason why you should not go, but I will only require one condition of you. Wondrous, the plans of the general, so doth he conquer in battle. Soldiers keenly competing gain renown in the fighting." The condition that K. Youngming made will appear in the next chapter.